We are live and we are back in action. Orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammey. Hope to be joined by Andrew Mason as the Denver Broncos news and notes. It just doesn't stop. This is supposed to be the slow time. And instead, it seems like it's busy, no matter what for the Denver Broncos, and busy adding to the secondary. Busy considering wide receiver talent. Yeah, the Broncos have begun in their free agency period. Of course, they've done a fantastic job, in my opinion. And George Payton, who I don't just fall all over myself about, I think George Payton has done a really good job, and they're not done yet. Now, it is Thursday, so things have slowed down a little bit with the new league year beginning, but obviously legal tampering really kicking things off in the National Football League. It were the Broncos that were making a bunch of noise, and the things are a little quieter on the NFL front, but that doesn't mean there's not plenty to talk about or discuss or to dissect or to basically just look over and see what exactly they're doing and what they have left to do. If you're the Denver Broncos, what you have left to do is still add some lightning to the backfield, something that I wrote about at denversports.com. You're going to add more tight end talent, again, pointing to my latest at denversports.com. Like you still have some things of note. I've said before, I'll say it again. I believe pass rusher is still a great need for this Broncos team, and one that they will address in the 2023 NFL draft, which will be here before you know it. It's the middle of March. Pro days have already happened. CU had their pro day. They don't have anybody that'll be of relevance in the NFL. Wyoming, always love to head up to Wyoming and to Laramie to watch their pro day, seeing the likes of Chad Muma and Andrew Wingard, others, cast of others who have gone through Wyoming there as well. I think Brett Smith and Robert Haran might have been my first Wyoming pro day 10 years ago or so. But always loved going up there. Obviously was up there for Josh Allen's pro day. So there you have it. But this year, Wyoming doesn't really have anybody. CSU, no, after having Trey McBride, who I felt should have gone in the first round last year. Now this season, not much there for the CSU Rams either, but pro days are happening across the NFL, and really a pro day is the final time for the players to impress. It's the final time for the players to showcase their ability. If you didn't get something done at the combine, you've always got your pro day to go back on. You can always go back and improve on your numbers, or at least show to scouts one more time how you've been working out, how you've been preparing. How has he been preparing for today's show? He's Andrew Mason, and he joins us now. I think I know where that's at.
The only room that's available. I mean,
old storage room.
Yeah, like the conference room. There are people in there.
Okay.
The lobby outside the studio is jammed with people watching March Madness.
Of course.
The 1600 studio is being used by somebody.
What about the TV studio that we will be using pretty soon for Orange and Blue today? Was that full?
I didn't go check. That's on the other side. Like I had to. I was already running behind because I had to do the drive at 3:10 today.
Yeah, so, DMAC, I'm gonna yell at DMAC next time. He's always so like possessive of you. I'm like, Mace has a show, DMAC. Like you have to let him go so he can do his show. So I'll yell at DMAC for you next time.
Don't worry about it. I mean, it happened. Look, part of it, we were talking about something right after I was on anyway, so part of it is my fault. I could have gotten out there right away, but the conversation kind of bled over into the breaks. So anyhow, so here I am. Now, why were you talking about pro days? Because, I mean, they are going on right now.
Yeah, because CU didn't have anybody. Wyoming's probably not going to have anybody, and CSU definitely doesn't have anybody. So it's like, okay, going to have to find some more interesting pro days. Perhaps those will be coming up on the schedule. But talking about that and talking about how the Broncos aren't done, Mace, we keep getting news, usually after the show, which makes me mad. But we get news like Oh, the Broncos are continuing to look at, let's say, cornerback help or this wide receiver conversation that keeps happening.
Yeah, or safety, because last night we learned that the Broncos has some interest in C.J. Gardner Johnson, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, but most notably formerly of the New Orleans Saints, because that's where he was for the first 3 seasons of his career. And then this past summer in training camp at the end of the preseason, the Saints trade him to the Eagles. So that's kind of he's the most interesting name out there right now, because the Broncos, of course, they saw Kareem Jackson become an unrestricted free agent. They can bring Kareem Jackson back whenever they want. They like Caden Stearns, but can Caden Stearns stay healthy? That's the big thing. And I know Stearns had a tweet where he kind of talked about being disrespected and all that. And I'm thinking, nobody disrespects you, Caden Stearns, but you got to stay healthy, right?
Yeah, you got to stay
I
healthy.
mean,
And you haven't done much yet. Like, we all
yeah,
believe in his talent, and he
yeah,
certainly was that guy as a freshman. But what happened after his freshman year at Texas? He didn't do anything because he was hurt all the time.
right. And so it goes back before the Broncos, his issues with injuries. So, I mean, these are all things that are in play right now, and reasons why the Broncos would take a look at someone like CJGJ, who, by the way, was one of the three players, other players, along with Justin Simmons, who tied for the NFL lead in interceptions last year with 6. So the idea of having 2 of the 4 interception leaders in the NFL, that could be pretty tempting, especially if you can get Gardner Johnson at the right price.
Yeah, and I think work in the secondary will continue, work at pass rush. Like, they're not done. They're doing some really good things. They're examining things and
Mhm.
maybe some moves that will, I don't know, surprise some people. Because we always get to talk about Stearns. People will reach out on Twitter, the most important thing ever, and be like, Stearns, PJ Locke. Yeah. The young talent's fine. The young talent isn't proven talent. So if you're going to
Right.
add to that secondary, I feel if you're the Denver Broncos, you do that. And whether that's through the draft or a trade, free agency, what have you, like, yes, that is an issue. That is a spot you're going to address at some point this offseason.
Yeah, it is. And if you bring in someone who is of a starting caliber level, then all of a sudden you're not worried about that, and Caden Stearns becomes your number 3 safety. That means he probably has to play at some point over the course of the year. PJ Locke, remember, they could have. I believe he was set to be a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't tender him. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have had him back. They chose not to tender him at the undrafted level, and that's it. So that may tell you kind of what the new regime thinks, and I think that's a key thing here, is that you have a new head coach who appears to be driving a lot of the personnel decisions, and unfortunately for some of these players, you're going to see some talented guys who go on and do well elsewhere, but Sean Payton wants a transfusion of talent. He wants someone new. And sometimes it can be a player who's not necessarily better, but just is a different player that wasn't around for the struggles of recent years. And that's
Right.
part of kind of the attitude transfusion that he's putting in there. And we see it with coaching changes all the time, that they've got their people they want to bring in. But with Sean Payton, it's a bit more profound because he's got 16 years of experience. He was not too long ago with the New Orleans Saints, and he's got a pretty well-defined idea of what he's looking for.
He's got a pretty well-defined coaching style too.
Yeah.
So it's comforting for him to know he can bring in some of his guys or go after his guys because they know how they're going to be coached. It's going to be tough. Like, it's going to be a little rougher. This isn't best friendville or whatever we want to talk about it with Nathaniel Hackett. This is like coach demanding respect, but demanding that you earn that respect. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's funny because last year during OTAs, when we had press conferences, I was asking a lot of the players a similar version of this question. Like, what is Nathaniel Hackett like when he's upset, when he's trying to scold a player, right? Because it didn't really mesh with what we'd seen from him, like him being upset. Well, Sean Payton, we know what that looks like. We've seen that on the sidelines. We know he's got some hard ass in him.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that, well, Broncos players are going to have to get used to. Now, we did have a chat question from Tony. You and Mace's thoughts on a Jeudy trade. Is it worth it? He's very talented. And we saw that talent when they made him backside X and they made him the primary read. And I don't know about you, Mace, but I'm okay with that because people, I guess, tried to use that as a slant against him, like a slam or something, where they're like, he has to be the number one read or else he's not dialed in. Yeah. So, like, okay, if that's who he is, my grandma would say that's just his way. Like, okay, yeah, hey, Jerry Jeudy's got to be really involved to be really dialed in. Yeah, okay, because when he's dialed in, he's pretty damn good.
Welcome to the way of things psychologically for most wide receivers in the National Football League, right? Most of those guys have to be involved to be 100% engaged and dialed in. That's that's how it is. And look, there's some ego to being a wide receiver, and that's okay. I mean, I was talking about it this morning. Of course, wide receivers want to be involved. I mean, part of it is the ego. Part of it is if you're going to get a big contract, you got to put up big numbers, right? If they're, if you're catching 50 passes for 650 yards and a couple of touchdowns, you're not going to get the big deal unless you've already got it in your past, like Cortland Sutton, right? So
Right.
that's, I mean, that's part of it. And here's the thing: if you trade Jerry Jeudy, let's say somebody gives you a first round pick and then a third round pick, because I don't think the Broncos are getting 2 1s, but let's say it's like a 1 and a 3 for Jerry Jeudy. Okay. What are the chances that they turn around and use that first round pick on a wide receiver? They're pretty decent, right? And you might have a quality player, and there's nothing against Jerry Jeudy as a person, but you might have another guy who's like, hey, I need to be involved. I need to be the wide receiver 1. That's my expectation. That's part of it. So, I mean, I think if you make that deal, I'm not sure that you're the only. I'm not sure what you're getting, except that you're starting the clock again on a potential wide receiver 1. Whereas Jerry Jeudy, he's heading into year 4. I mean, time flies, right? The case for Jerry Jeudy being traded is that you're starting the cycle again with a rookie wide receiver. Whereas with Jeudy, it's year 4. You have the 5th-year option decision coming up here in this couple of months. And I'll say this: if you don't plan on picking up the 5th-year option, if you're saying that's it, we're not going to do that, trade him, right?
Exactly.
If you've decided he's not worthy of the 5th-year option, we can debate whether that is a wise decision or not. Then deal him, okay? Don't get caught in this thing with Draymond Jones. The one failure of the Broncos so far in the last couple of weeks is letting Draymond Jones walk and getting nothing back. Should have done a tag and trade and made a deal happen. That's the only thing that has really gone askew in this process here over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just be more forward thinking. It's not like they're not, but there's just some opportunities that maybe have gotten away from them. And with the Jerry Jeudy thing, if you can see it, if you don't envision him being part of the long-term solution, well, don't just lose him for nothing. Like, get something and get it now. You're deep at the position anyway, provided that Tim Patrick is healthy and Sutton is back and all that kind of stuff. Like, you've got some young players, a Brandon Johnson, a Jalen Virgil, who I really like with that speed. Like, okay, so develop there. And one thing that we've seen, and I didn't write this at denversports.com. There's a lot of ideas I get, and I don't have time. I wish I could clone myself, Mace. Watch the latest Mandalorian about that. Spoiler alert. But anyway,
dude, I haven't started watching the season yet. Don't.
Oh, you don't need to watch the first couple episodes because it's just like recap stuff. Or like I could watch Man of Recaps in 15 minutes and get what I got in 2 episodes. Anyway, 3rd episode is pretty damn good. But anyway, I'll get off track there. I think one of the most impacted players by the hiring of Sean Payton could be Albert Okwuegbunam, because I think that because they are not going to be able to really do exactly what New Orleans did, you're looking for other receivers to be involved. I think those tight ends, including Greg Dulcich, including Albert O, and running back out of the backfield. Now it looks like Samaje Perine with the improvement he's shown as a receiver. Like you're going to have, your third wide receiver's not going to get a whole lot in this offense. I think those tight ends get a little bit more. And I definitely think there's going to be an emphasis on the running backs being involved as receivers as well.
Well, you wonder if Sean Payton and his coaches watched Albert Okwuegbunam and came to the same conclusion that Jerry Rossberg did, which is, why isn't this guy playing? He's got vertical speed. He's got a premium skill set. Why aren't you finding ways to get him out there? And look, as we've discussed, Albert O is one of those players who needs more management. He needs reassurance. He needs the pat on the shoulder. Like he needs the investment of time. Like if you just kind of ignore him and say, okay, well, we're coaching the whole group and whatever, you're going to lose him. Part of coaching is that you've got to understand which players need a little bit more time, a little bit more work than others, and what they need psychologically. So hopefully they'll look at Albert O and see, okay, if we just kind of take some time, give him some one-on-one here, that we're going to see something pretty extraordinary in terms of skill set from tight end. And yeah, that could be another reason why you're trading from the wide receiver position, because you're using Albert O as basically a big wide receiver, a big slot. You're using him like the Jaguars used Evan Engram this past year, right? I mean, when we see how guys like Evan Engram and Mike Gesicki get used over the years, you're like, why can't you do that with Albert O?
Right. Well, and let's rewind a year ago when Evan Engram signs a 1-year deal with the Jaguars. This is a former first-round pick and a very talented class. Him and O.J. Howard, and Jake Butt would have been there too if Butt hadn't gotten hurt. My opinion, I always thought Jake Butt was a first-round talent. He just got his knee shredded in that final game. But rewind a year ago. Evan Engram overpaid by the Jaguars, just like they overpaid Christian Kirk. Oh, wait a second. What's that? They had a plan for Engram. They had a plan for Christian Kirk, and that plan worked out pretty damn good for that team.
Yeah, and you imagine that whatever they do this year, they're going to have a plan too. That's one of the things that hopefully has changed, is that you've got a plan and that you're taking it simple in how to get there, that you're not trying to put in this Frankenstein's monsters offense that's going to meld two schemes. And you have guys sitting there in early June. They're like, and they're having to spend like 12, 14 hours a day working on this stuff. And it's like, okay, is that really the best thing right now? Are we not asking too much of them? Turned out they were asking too much of them. And the offense was a jumbled mess until the very end of the season, when Justin Outten pared it down, and all of a sudden, they moved the ball the last couple of games. Who knew?
Hey, what do you know? When you have a plan, things work out. Yeah, and that's what happened with the Denver Broncos. So I think some rooms, defensive back room, wide receiver room. I wrote, came out today at denversports.com about how they need to add a little lightning. Deuce Vaughn would be interesting, day 3 pick, because you got plenty of lightning there, because you got thunder. You got thunder for sound like Sean Payton, sound like Garth Brooks, right? The thunder rolls, because you have Javonte and you've got Samaje Perine there. You're fine when it comes to power. How about a little dash of speed, Mace?
Yeah. What is it was said in the Rocky movies? You're going to eat lightning or crap thunder, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you need that contrast. You need a home run hitter, and you can't rely on Javonte Williams being that home run hitter coming back from the injury. I was on I was doing an out of market radio spot about an hour or so ago, and basically said, look, you've got to have a plan for life without Javonte Williams, and right now you don't have enough in that room without Javonte Williams. You could bring Latavius Murray back, and he's someone who can run the ball. But, like, where is the explosiveness right now if you don't have Javonte at 100%? Like Javonte at 80% isn't going to have that explosiveness, right? So you do have to go in the draft. It still wouldn't surprise me at all if they go running back with one of those 2 round 3 picks. I think they could go there that early. And, oh, by the way, one of the things about what they've done in free agency so far is you're starting to look at the roster. You're looking at the lineup they're putting together. And it's not like the Broncos are sitting there and saying, we have to pick an immediate starter at any position. That gives you the flexibility to take the best value player. And there's a decent chance that when you're picking 67, 68, that the best value guys on the board could be running backs.
Yes. Yes. Running backs because of the talent in this class and just how that position is not as valued as it once was.
Mm-hmm.
And then tight ends just because this class is amazing. So I'm always a BPA guy because it's like you're going to take your best players, you're going to go beat the other teams that are filling their needs. Like if you get to the draft and you got a zillion needs, you're doing stuff wrong, baby. So BPA for me. And in the third round, somebody tweeted at me because I did the Deuce Vaughn thing and they're like, it doesn't look like he's from Tulane. I'm like, Spears is going to be gone by the time they pick in the third round. That's my opinion. But if he's not, Mace,
yeah,
I'm running that pick up to Roger Goodell.
It's about, I think it's about 50-50 that Spears is there.
Okay.
So he's right on the edge right now. If he's there, I would, and actually, if there's a certain point where I would trade up, like if he's at pick 60, sort of like last year, one of the things that we all kind of that we gathered was that there was some real interest in Trey McBride, and if he had dropped just a little bit more, I think the Broncos would have been in position to make a deal and move up and take the CSU kid who ended up going to the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, that didn't work out. So whatever point, if you've got Spears, like maybe it's pick 60, maybe it's pick 55, but there is a point that I think if Spears is still on the board, you start picking up the phone and calling to move up just a little bit. And especially, and this is where if you can get some more draft capital from trading a wide receiver, that's a good spot to use that some of that later capital perhaps that you've acquired is to move up and get Spears and get him in that room because he is a perfect Sean Payton running back. I think he could be another Alvin Kamara in this scheme. I don't, with all respect to Javonte Williams, I don't see him doing the Kamara-like things, especially coming off that injury.
Yeah, he wasn't built that way anyway. And for those saying like you can't find that in the third round, Kamara was a third round
pick. Hello.
Yeah, it's out there.
Kareem Hunt led the league in rushing as a rookie coming off of being a third round pick, right? I mean, that is a sweet spot for running backs over the last few years. That's where the value ends up being just right. And that's why I think running back's going to be pretty high on the Broncos list. But you know what? The value could be defensive line. The value could be edge. The Broncos are now in position to do whatever they want when that time comes in the draft.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions about center, and I'm not so sure, one, any talent would be there in the third round. And then two, I'm not so sure it is as high on their list as other people have been putting it, Mace. Where do you come down on the middle of the offensive line?
I mean, you see where the draft ends up falling, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure center is the high priority that the public believes it believes it could be. Now, that being said, let's watch the second and third wave of free agency here as prices drop. I mean, if Ben Jones is still sitting on the market a week from now, do you maybe investigate that? I think that would be a logical direction in which to go.
For sure.
But at that point, that's what you're kind of resetting and reevaluating. You're always evaluating, and you're always looking to upgrade. ABU, it's always be closing, as was said in Glenn Ross. To me, it's in the NFL, it's ABU. Always be upgrading. Always be looking to upgrade every position. Always be looking through any channel to get better. That's why I wanted the Broncos to claim Baker Mayfield back in December, because it gave you a chance to upgrade the backup position. ABU. Always be upgrading.
ABU. I like that. I also want to interject and say, I'm sorry, fans, but the teams don't care about the players as much as you do. Like, fans put their heart in it. Like, I got his jersey and I love him and I got his rookie card and I drafted him on my fantasy team. Teams don't care. Like, people love Greg Dulcich. If they could get an upgrade at tight end, which they probably could in this draft, they'll get one. So, yeah, Greg Dulcich is awesome. Yeah, they might find an upgrade.
Yeah, again, if you take the best player available, and it could well be tight end, that's another position of depth, right? Like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. I think the thing is, And this is where the teams as overall organizations are in interesting spots. It is the teams in terms of their publicity machine that do a lot to promote these guys and kind of create that bond that people have. Like you get to know, Cortland Sutton, you get to know Greg Dulcich, and you learn about him. And then the flip side of that is the team is also saying when you're done, and then they're pulling the plug. It's a cold business, and the teams are trying to sell you jerseys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their business then becomes, okay, well, if that player moves on, we get you to buy another jersey, which is why I always say, just buy a retired player jersey. Okay.
Throwback.
Just buy a Champ Bailey or a Steve Atwater or a Peyton Manning or a John Elway or Terrell Davis, whoever you like, whatever your flavor is, just do that, because you see those names on the Ring of Fame around the stadium. You could wear a jersey with one of those names on it from now until the end of your life. And unless that player has some sort of major malfeasance in his life, that jersey is not going to go out of style, right? You can proudly wear a Rod Smith jersey. You can proudly wear an Ed McCaffrey jersey. You can do all that to this day. So people, please, just buy retired player jerseys. Save your money. Okay.
They're expensive now too.
Things I couldn't say when I worked for a team, because when you work, just buy the jersey. Yeah. Go buy another. No, don't do that. Save your money. Buy a retired jersey that you can wear for years. If you're an adult, I mean, shoot, if you're an adult, you can wear a jersey maybe for decades, right? I got a Leroy Selman jersey back in 2009, and I'll probably be wearing that until I drop dead. Okay, It's all right.
Yeah, it's all good. Wait till you see the jersey I wear tomorrow for St. Patrick's Day. I already picked one out.
Is it green?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it a Miami Hurricanes alternate?
No, it's not. It's not. You'll appreciate it because I like throwback jerseys. I think I have like 80 jerseys now.
So is it like a New York Jets?
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No, I don't. Make it fun. But if it's green, it's an
green.
NFL. It's an NFL.
It's NFL. Yes.
Okay, so that right there limits it considerably, right?
Right.
I mean, like, the ultimate would be if it were an Eagles Randall Cunningham jersey, but instead of Cunningham, it said QB Eagles on the back, like on Tecmo Super Bowl.
And Tecmo Super Bowl, yeah. Yes. That was great. It was unfair to have Randall Cunningham or Jerry Rice. Remember Jerry would be like quadruple teamed and you just throw it and he'd catch it.
The cheat codes on that game back in the day were Jerry Rice, Randall Cunningham, Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, and then on the defensive side, Wayne Haddix, very strange, played cornerback for Tampa Bay. The year that they based Tecmo Super Bowl off of, 1990, he had 7 picks, including 3 pick sixes, and he made the Pro Bowl. But he was terrible in coverage and got cut in the middle of the following season. All right. So by the time Tecmo Super Bowl came out, Wayne Haddix was no longer on the Bucs, but it immortalized his great Buccaneers season, and because of that, he was absolutely dominant. And then Bob Nelson, for whatever reason, is virtually unblockable on Tecmo Super Bowl. By the way, I'm kind of old school. You ever play Retro Bowl?
No. What is that?
Retro Bowl, it is an app that you can get now. And it's not exactly the same as Tecmo, like but it has that same kind of style and vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And like I play it on my iPad, and I've got you can like do dynasties and things like that. I moved the Jacksonville Jaguars to London, and so I am the London Monarchs.
Okay.
And I have a dynasty going on Retro Bowl, and it's just an absolute blast. And Jules says, I love that app. Yeah, I'm kind of addicted to Retro Bowl. Like the last flight I was on, I think I played Retro Bowl the whole time, even though I actually, not the whole time. I transcribed an interview for part of it, and then the rest of it I played Retro Bowl. So.
Transcribing, one of the worst jobs of humanity. So
probably the worst part of our job is transcribing.
Yeah. Get Dragonfly, baby.
Yeah.
Unpaid endorsement.
Every transcription app I try is not very accurate.
Yeah, that's true.
Says, London Knights, Mace. Come on, says Jose. No,
Jose.
The London Monarchs were a World League team. The first World Bowl back in 1991 was won by the London Monarchs at Wembley Stadium over, I believe, the Barcelona Dragons, and 61,000 people showed up to watch the game at Wembley. All right, and so I do the uniforms. I have like. I have the original Monarchs home uniform, the road uniform, which is white over gold. I did an alternate with a red jersey and gold pants, and that is second alternate because you can also on Retro Bowl you can do the uniforms. So like the Broncos, one of the choices I have on there is the classic lighter academy blue orange helmets with orange jerseys, but I also did a uniform that's brown and yellow as an alternate.
Okay.
The 1960 throwback. So I've had some fun with it. But yeah, like I've got a Monarchs alternate that is just red and white. Like it's all white with red stripes on it. But yeah, it's oh my gosh, hours and hours and hours of fun. Honestly, I guess I'm very old school on video games. I like simple gameplay. I do.
Yeah, there's something about it. They redid Tecmo Bowl with the modern rosters maybe a couple of years ago for Xbox. Because you're an app gamer. I didn't want to look down my nose at you, but I'm a console gamer.
I'm not I'm not that much. I'm not a gamer. Like
you play games on an app. You're a gamer.
No,
you play games on an app. You're a gamer.
A gamer implies like some level of devotion and time and investment in like a gaming chair, a game console that I don't have. Okay. That's that.
You have apps, you play a game, you're a gamer.
I'm playing.
Admit it, Mace. You're a gamer.
Oh my gosh. So what you're saying is like if I play Sudoku on my phone, does that make me a gamer?
You bet.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
You've got like the broadest possible definition of gamer. This is like by that definition, you would define elite quarterbacks as a category that included Brett Rippon. With all respect to Brett Rippon. Okay.
Brett Rippon said he missed everybody. He's like, I wish they would have kept me, but I miss you guys. We miss you too, Brett. Now go be a coach somewhere.
It's nothing personal, Brett. I mean,
right. Never is.
It's just, I mean, your numbers weren't very good. I'm sorry, I mean, we're not talking about Nathan Peterman. But actually, I should have said that the way you define gamer would be to have elite quarterbacks, including Nathan Peterman. That's what I should have said.
I thought you were going to say Paxton Lynch, and I was going to say he was a gamer until he unfriended me on Xbox.
Yeah. What? Wait, you were friends with Paxton Lynch on Xbox?
Yep. Dude played a lot of Madden.
He did?
He did.
It didn't help. See, Madden helped some guys, right? It obviously didn't help Paxton.
Oh boy. And that is a wrap for today's program, everybody. It is Orange and Blue today. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on Twitter at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. Thank you, everybody. Be safe, be kind. Know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, I ask that you please stay frosty.